Hi, welcome to Allergy Dragons Lair. My name is Martha Morgan. I'm your host. I'm a specialty diet and allergy chef. I have a couple of food allergies and celiac disease, but my biggest claim to fame is raising a child successfully with over 30 food allergies and celiac disease. This conversation is a long time coming with this guest. I'm super excited to have Renia on, and I may have butchered her name, but she'll let me know if I did. She's also known as Black Allergy Mama and just a really cool person. We know in this space, if you have been listening to Allergy Dragon Slayer, then you know that I like to talk to really cool people and people that I really admire in this space and let you know what they're doing. But before we jump into this episode, a quick disclaimer. The views expressed here on our show are our personal opinions and ours of our guests. Life experiences. We are not healthcare providers or doctors. Please seek advice from your healthcare professional for any diagnoses or changes to your healthcare plan. End of disclaimer. Okay, now we're going to jump right into this episode. I have got Renia with me, Renia Butler. Did I say your last name right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that was easy part. And you are the creator of Black Allergy Mama. You are a allergy mom, obviously. WebMD Contributor, and I'm just going to let you kind of, introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do.
Thank you for having me, Martha. As you mentioned, I am the content creator and owner of blackallergymama.com. I am also a WebMD contributor. They recently rolled out their food allergy caregivers blog. Myself and four other food allergy caregivers were selected to contribute in this new space. Additionally, I am an advanced food allergy and intolerances nutritional advisor. And I am also the moderator for the WebMD food allergy Facebook group. And I think most importantly, you hit the nail on the head. I am a food allergy parent.
So just a few things, right?
Yeah, just a few, not too many.
Not too many. And you have got two beautiful children. And I think one of the coolest things, or I don't know, obviously we connect because you're a food allergy parent. I mean, we all, I think in this space, we all just immediately just, our brains kind of go to like the first time we had, any type of, or our initiation into this group that was not really like a fun initiation. I'm just letting,
Right.
if you
Right,
don't
right.
know about the initiation. But I
Right.
think the parallels between our stories were what struck me so hard when I really first got introduced to your content. Because my story started in 2003, your story started in 2019. And I should say, I guess this chapter of the story started in those time frames. And both of our kiddos were 9 months old, if I remember correctly. And then strawberries was what we were introducing. And so to have that parallel was just like, it was gut wrenching to me, like, because I really have not found that I found similar, but not to like that point of 9 months strawberries. Boom. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
so for you, how was that introduction to being a food allergy mom? I mean, besides the obvious things, how how mind blown were you? Because I was always mind blown that it was strawberries to be the first thing.
Yeah, I mean, our food allergy story was full circle. There is this song on Frozen called Into the Unknown, and I feel as though that is the perfect if our journey were had a theme song, that would be our theme song. Strawberries is mind blowing. I think fruit itself is mind blowing when you think about a small child showing signs or symptoms of an anaphylactic reaction. I think even if you're not knowledgeable of food allergies, the first thing your mind goes to is peanut or milk or egg. It's definitely not something like a strawberry. So I think you're absolutely right. I think that is something that makes our journey very unique, because we sort of had to attack it differently. Because I feel as though when our daughter started to show symptoms of from strawberries or fruit in general, then you start to question, well, is it food allergies? What could it be? Because not only does no one, warn you before you at the start of your journey, what it's going to look like. No one for sure talks about fruit being something that could potentially be hazardous to your child. So yes, I agree with you for sure.
And I know she has like quite a few allergies as well. Not trying to list them all or anything like that, but I know that we started off with three is like what I like to say. We did peanuts, tree nuts, and strawberries is what we actually ended up starting with. And then now that they're 21 years of age, but it was before that, we stopped counting after we hit 30, and then it's just like we lost peanuts, and then it was like, oh yeah, I mean, which is a good thing. Anytime you can lose an allergen is awesome. It's a little bit different for us, not to say it's 100% the same for every person. I mean, even if you have a peanut allergy, the next person journey is different with peanuts because all of our journeys are different. I kind of feel like allergies are a spectrum to a certain extent, and like how my child reacts to strawberries may not have been the way that yours, acted to strawberries. It's just, interesting to me to see the differences and nuances between all of our stories. And that's why I do Allergy Dragons Lair, because I think all of our stories are very important.
Yeah, I really like how you referenced a spectrum because I find myself, especially obtaining of my advanced food allergy and intolerances nutritional advisor certification. I found that our journey, our food allergy occurrences do fall onto a spectrum. I'm very fortunate that my child has never had a severe anaphylactic reaction. Although her IgE levels, and I'm sure we'll get into that later, are very high for certain things, once she was diagnosed with top 8 in 2019, that at that time the medicine was stressing avoidance. Our allergist, our pediatrician, they were like, oh well, just avoid these foods, and now the medicine is, a bit different, the science behind it, and they're telling folks whose children are showing these signs of food allergies to continue to gradually introduce so that their body will no longer recognize these allergenic proteins as foreign. So that sort of set us on our heels, because here we are almost 6 years into the game, and there are things that are on our daughter's top 8 list that she's never had. She's never had eggs. She's never had wheat or gluten. She's had cheese by mistake or milk by mistake, but you know it's just tricky because now that she's at this point, her body has never had this, so it is going to do something. It's going to recognize it as something that she's never had before, and her body's going to do what it's going to do. And over these past 5.5 years, one thing that we've noticed is her eczema flares. She gets rashes on her face. They're not hives, it's not urticaria, but it's an eczema rash. And it's itchy, and because she's 5, she picks her scabs, which exacerbate those symptoms. But we've never had to use our EpiPen. We have it. We travel with it everywhere we go, just in case something arises that is, again, new to us as we navigate this journey. But luckily, very fortunately, we've never had to use it. Benadryl, that's probably also frowned upon too nowadays, but back in the day, that is what allergists or medics at ER would, administer to her when she would go, when she was showing some sort of symptoms. And it's really helped us a lot in sort of curtailing whatever may be going on in her little body to ensure that she is okay.
And I think the important thing that you stressed there that you brought up is the old science versus new science. And I think the best thing to do is to definitely listen to what your doctor says and what your plan of action is. And the fact that you have epinephrine and pretty much when you need to use it, then that's like the most important thing you have to do, because it's on a spectrum, like we just said. And I think everybody's plan is going to be a little different because our allergens are different.
But I'm a huge proponent for additional research. I mean, I agree with you. I agree that, following the orders of your allergist and your pediatrician as it pertains to how they guide you or direct you on, caring for your child. But I also think that as allergy parents, we are with that child day in and day out. So there are certain things that, I find myself pushing back on, because you don't see these symptoms that I see. So for example, she recently passed her banana challenge. And so her doctor wants us to sort of incorporate banana back into her diet. One, my daughter hates bananas. I'm not going to force her to eat something that she doesn't want to eat, because that triggers her immune system regardless, because the anxiety spiking of mommy forcing me to eat something I don't want to eat, regardless of whether or not I'm allergic to it, is something that am not going to do. And then even with the bananas, even though when she was in the doctor's office, she passed, there was there was no rash or no irritation. The moment she got home and tried another banana that next day, I think it was the next day, I noticed symptoms of something, this dry cough, this itching around the mouth. So for me, that's something that the allergist can't see because she's not with us all the time. So I had to make the, rational decision that although she passed this banana challenge, we're going to wait. And I think that's okay too. I think as food allergy parents, we have to ensure that we are comfortable advocating for our children. And that is probably what my entire, foundation, my entire platform is dedicated to, is to encouraging food allergy parents to advocate for themselves and not live in fear, but research and learn everything you can. We understand that we are not doctors, don't have time to be doctors, did not go to school for 78 years to be doctors, but we do have access to the information. And I think it's our due diligence to research what we can so that we are well equipped with the tools to ensure that we are doing a successful job as parents, food allergy parents specifically.
As a parent, you know your child better than the doctor does.
Right.
So that's the biggest importance, I think, is listening to your gut as a parent in
Absolutely.
any situation. Yeah.
Mhm.
And for us, OIT was definitely something. We were on the beginning of OIT when it was first introduced. We ended up not, we had EOE issues and different things like that. So we did not become a candidate for it. But also at the same time, Vesper didn't want to do OIT. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to push that on them as well. So I couldn't agree more with that. Because I remember feeling like being pushed or bullied to a certain degree. And we actually changed
Absolutely.
allergist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't thought about that for a minute. So I love the fact that you brought that up. Those memories we keep back there and you go, oh, yeah, that happened to me too.
Right.
So, what would you say is like the biggest misconception about raising a child with food allergies? I think there's quite a few.
Absolutely. I would say for my family, the biggest misconception is, well, what can she eat? She can't eat anything. I appreciate the space to teach and to educate, but I will tell you sometimes that is exhausting. Especially I find that because her list is not as long as Vespers, their list is very long, but because her list is, 8 currently, people usually stop listening to me by the time I get to number 3. And so then I end up having to like repeat myself, or they'll ask me, well, can she have this? And I'm like, well, that's just another form of cheese. No, they can't have eggs. She can't have egg whites if she can't have eggs. It becomes like this a numbers game, and it just, at times it can be a bit labor intensive. But I think that's probably the biggest misconception, is that she's just leading this horrible life because she can't eat all of these, pre-processed packaged goods that are on the shelves that, to be honest with you, Martha, a lot of our children should not be eating anyway. And I'm not judging. I'm not judging, those moms who, have the flexibility, because I have two girls. Only one of them has food allergies. So there are times that my youngest daughter does get those prepackaged processed goods because it's just easier in the moment. But I think it's important for people to hear a food allergy mom say that my daughter is living her best life. It's just tailored in a way that looks a bit different than the typical 5-year-old's life. And it really just comes down to, of course, mom and dad live in a state of hypervigilance. Um, but we make it work. We navigate this journey, I would say, safely, And we do it in a manner that is very smart and that works best for us. So to answer your question, the biggest misconception is that food allergy children don't live, their quality of life is not the same as those children who do not have food allergies.
Yeah, good points. Yeah, I think that you just have to be creative. And I think with any parent that has, let's say you don't have food allergies, but I think everybody has something with their child. I don't know of very many people that don't have. Well, I have two other children, two boys that have no food allergies. One has celiac disease, but they have their own set of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no matter how you have to approach life with any of your children's, and I would definitely say, yeah, people do tend to think that there's nothing to eat. Well, how can they have a good life? And, food is important, but food is not the only thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. There are so many things and so many ways that allow us to be creative, to navigate holidays and school functions, in a way that we hope, for our daughter will create lasting memories, that don't revolve around food.
Hmm. Yeah, you can always create new traditions and things like that. I think that's the beauty of it. And I think turning that list around when somebody tells you what can she eat, or things like that, or she can't eat anything. And it's like, no, look at what she can do. Look at what she can eat, and just turning that into more positive. Um,
Absolutely. And I think I'm very fortunate that my daughter is a salty versus a sweet kid. Her
mhm.
preferences err on the side of something salty. So it's a lot easier to find things to please her, when it comes to her preferences.
Yeah, I think savory is a little bit easier. You don't have
Yeah.
to
Savory,
work.
yes.
Yeah, savory, salty, either way, it's both good.
Mm-hmm.
Means the same thing. Yeah, I think that it's interesting. Now she's in school now, right?
She is almost 6. She is rounding the corner of her end, of the semester of her kindergarten year.
Okay, that's what I thought. So how scary was that? I mean, to be honest, like I think that is like the kindergarten stage for me. Like it scared the living tar out of me. But then honestly, as they go, there's different challenges
Oh
to
man,
each grade level. I mean, to each
absolutely.
level.
Absolutely.
So, how was that for you all?
Yeah, I think the silver lining on that cloud was that Emery has been in some sort of schooling structure since she was 4 months old. So we've learned how to communicate with school administration to ensure that our child is safe while in the care of teachers and on a school campus. But I will say, kindergarten class and school, there were a lot more moving pieces. The classrooms were bigger. There were more, administrators to sort of communicate with and engage with. And then just the overall hygiene element of these 19 other 5-year-olds in this class, who are eating the Cheetos and the chips. Luckily, it's a nut-free school, but they're drinking the milk and doing all of the things, right? So
Mm,
um we established a 504 plan that sort of created a little flexibility, created a safe space for us to sort of outline our preferences as it pertained to her safety. And I think the process itself is fantastic. But I think what a lot of people underestimate about 504 plans is that it allows you to engage with administration in a way that most parents don't have the pleasure of doing. So because we have established a 504 plan for our daughter, there are administrators who know us by name, her teachers know us by name, her principals know us by name and know her by name. It just creates this multi-layered approach of accountability. They know her, they see her, they know what she can and cannot have. It's just additional eyes and hands of care for us when we don't have the ability to be physically present with her. So while kindergarten was a little bit more frightful, just given the magnitude of all of the changes, I will say that it has taught us how to strengthen our communication skills in a way that has not only been beneficial for us as her parents, but I feel as though it has allowed her to sort of gracefully step into her own and be able to beautifully advocate for herself and educate folks about what's going on with her, as opposed to mommy and daddy doing it. I think that has probably been the best part about the transition from a smaller academy to a full-on public school.
Mhm. I didn't have daycare. I was lucky my mom came and lived with us, and I just was fortunate in that aspect. So I didn't have to have daycare in that aspect. And so it was terrifying for me for going into kindergarten. But I also think like there's a big, age difference between our two kids too. And I think, you know, that there's more conversations being had now versus when I was starting to have those conversations. So kudos to you having what sounds like a very good transition and being just
Yeah.
very planned out and organized.
Yeah, and I really like that you referenced the time span, because things have changed. Even in the last 5 years, my daughter will be 6. Things have changed drastically in that time. I can only imagine a parent having a child 15 years ago, and there being nothing out there for you to grasp onto for assistance. I was terrified 5 years ago. No idea, no one to turn to. And now I 6 years ahead, fast forwarding 6 years ahead, the evolution of food allergies, the evolution of food allergy awareness. I really feel as though in the next 5 to 10 years, food allergy will be a dinner table conversation. It will be something folks are, conversing about more frequently, which is great, because the more people talk about it, the more people know, the more people are aware. It increases the likelihood, or decreases, I should say, the likelihood that we see these beautiful children who've lost their lives. We see that number decrease because people are a lot more vigilant about, how to keep each other safe.
Exactly. So yeah, going through the kindergarten and then and obviously you have lots of blissful years ahead, and challenges going on with your kids, but that's normal. You know what I mean? And I think that that's one of the things that they're trying to explain to people is my kid's just as normal as your kid. It's just we have to take different precautions.
Yeah. And what is normal anyway?
Hmm.
That's what I always say. What's a normal? Point me in the direction of a normal child any day. I need to see.
Hmm. I'm definitely not it. Like my kid
I'm
is definitely not the normal one, and I
no
am not the
way.
normal parent.
No way. I have not met a normal child.
Me either. Me either. In what ways has being a food allergy parent, do you think, made you a better parent? And in what ways do you think that it has not made you a better parent? Like reflecting on that.
That's a great question. I think it's really hard to say. I really try to lean into giving myself grace, because this is uncharted territory. But what I will say, I think being a food allergy parent has allowed me to be more present. I think that it has allowed or forced me to not take certain things for granted. I think it has allowed me to assess things prior to having my daughter, like the FDA, the United States food regulatory services are the foundation of those agencies. I think I took for granted that we lived in a country that honestly valued us as citizens when it came to the food regulation, the things that are on our shelves for our children to eat. I think I took all of those things for granted. And now, as a food allergy parent, I really push back against that system. I really push back against that, oh, just eat it way of life. My husband and I take that very seriously. Sometimes we make mistakes. I personally make mistakes as it pertains to, the things I allow my daughter to try or taste. But I think if anything, being a food allergy parent has forced me to just be a lot more present. And a lot more patient. It's probably, unfortunately, caused me, as I mentioned before, to live in a state of hypervigilance. I'm constantly looking and reading and researching. And, sometimes I talk to my husband because I feel like sometimes our daughter believes her food allergies come before her. Because, when she eats something that is new to her, we're like setting a timer on the microwave at 30 minutes to see if there is any reaction or any difference in her breathing, or if any, things have appeared on her skin. And we don't do that to my other daughter. She could literally eat something off the floor that's been there for 6 days, and we're like, make sure you brush your teeth. That's as far as we go with that. But with our oldest daughter, we are definitely more in tune with, watching her, and she feels that. And so, we always talk about how this will manifest itself within the next 10 to 15 years, what type of person she'll be, because we don't watch her like a hawk, but she's definitely, under the care of a watchful eye, because that's how we, ensure that she's okay after she's consumed something. So I would say, being a food allergy parent has caused me to live in a state of hypervigilance. Relaxation is not something that comes naturally anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you feel like accidents are going to happen whenever you like let your guard down completely? At least that's how I always felt
Or
too.
even when my guard is up, I feel
Yeah.
like there's a possibility that somebody mislabeled something in the factory, or there's cross contamination, or somebody sprayed it with something, or I didn't wash it well enough before I gave it to her. Just all of these things.
Oh, exactly. And I love the fact that you mentioned giving yourself grace,
Hmm.
because we all make mistakes. And I have given my child their allergen by accident. I have gone through my 3-time label reading rule and realized, no, and doing a full dive trying to, it's just, you know, everybody makes mistakes.
I did
And
it Saturday. I did it Saturday. We went to a little gathering at our community park, and they had it was like a spring celebration, and they had like an Easter egg hunt, because I guess they had all this stuff left over, or the party was supposed to be earlier in the month or whatever. And there were these like fruit chews. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like a Starburst almost, but it's like in a fruit chew. It's like a roll up.
Mhm.
Thinking to myself, it's fruit chew. There, it's artificial flavoring, dye, color, sugar, gelatin. What else could be in it? And before I could go and get on Google, because the individual candies aren't labeled. They tell you to go on the internet and search to find out the ingredients or call the manufacturer. And I did not do that. She took a bite of the candy and she didn't like it. Her body told her something. So she spit it out. She didn't even swallow it. She just chewed it, and she was like, "Mommy, I don't like this. I'm gonna spit this out." And I said, "Go for it." And so later that hours, Martha, hours had we gone to a whole nother birthday party since then. I got home and I was like, we have a lot of these candies left over. Let me just see, just, for giggles, what is in this candy. 2 forms of milk: skim, condensed milk, and whey. My question, why? 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 Uh, so the correlation is she'd had a consistent raspy cough since that morning that was progressively getting worse. I saw a little rash on her face. Didn't put 2 and 2 together until I read the ingredients on the candy. I said, oh, okay. So this cough and this little rash that is now spreading is indicative of you coming into contact with one of your allergens. Here's what I will say. I didn't beat myself up about it. I told myself I wouldn't do it again, did not beat myself up about it. And I took the blessing as it was that she did not go into she did not have a severe anaphylactic reaction. She had a cough and a rash, which was manageable. Gave her medication. She had a peaceful night of sleep, woke up the next day and was 100% fine. So for me, that gives me hope that there is a possibility that somewhere down the line, she will no longer be allergic to milk. I am going to take that as a sign that she has the potential to outgrow this allergy. We are working with her allergist to find out more, and this is something I will share with her allergist at our appointment this week. But that to me is a win.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I couldn't have said that better. I thought it was beautifully said.
Thank you.
The fact that, that's what you take away from that, and not beating yourself up, because I know I did. I don't know, everybody has their moments. But the fact that you were able to do that is beautiful. Just moving on. So what plans do we have for the future, for you, and like all the stuff that you're doing that you listed, which is just like a teeny tiny list?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so as I mentioned, I'm a contributor to WebMD, so I am constantly churning out new content over there. WebMD.com, you can search my name, Renia Butler, and you will see all of the articles that I've currently published. I'm definitely going to stay in that lane and continue to contribute there. I think that's a great space, a great resource for new food allergy parents, or even more seasoned food allergy parents, as well as school administration. I think a lot of them go to WebMD to sort of get a better understanding of how they can better advocate for their students. I am going to start moving into a space where I am working with clients, just to assist them on their nutritional journey as they navigate newly diagnosed food allergies or symptoms, and they want to get a better understanding of how to communicate with their healthcare practitioners on how to sort of strategize their treatment plans. So that is something that I'm eventually going to roll out on blackallergymama.com. Learning every day with my daughter and through my daughter's eyes, hand in hand, as we navigate this food allergy journey together. And with her dad, just learning not only how to navigate the food allergy journey, but also how to navigate parenting one child who has food allergies and one who doesn't. I think that is a very dynamic scenario. And it's been very interesting. At the beginning, it was very scary because we didn't necessarily know if we should deprive one so that the other can be safe, or how we, balance that out. But we've just sort of leaned into it together. Communication is the key when it comes to, this journey. And of course, I, will continue on my platform and on Instagram and social media, sharing little tidbits that I find that I hope are helpful to other food allergy parents, allies, advocates, etc.
Awesome. Yeah, the WebMD thing is just amazing to me. I think it's the 4 bloggers that they have involved, obviously including you, everybody that's involved with that and how they are approaching it. It's a very great tool. I wish I had had it. So, and I mean, I have it now, but I wish I had it early on,
Back
and I'm
then.
glad that I
Yeah,
have it now.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I hear you.
Thank you so much, for coming by. And before I end the episode, I would like to always give my guest a option to either, go over something we didn't get to go over, or just end with an ending thought that you would like to leave everybody with.
Sure. So maybe two things. One, I created blackallergymama.com because I realized not only is this a very unique space, but it's also a very unique space for people of color, because there's just not a lot of information out there to support what our eczema looks like, what our hives look like, what a anaphylactic reaction is for people of color, what our statistics are. There is a very disproportionate amount of care when we think of racial disparities, when we think of socioeconomic status. There are just a lot of barriers when it comes to people of color getting the care that they need as it pertains to food allergy and asthma. So I always want to share that representation matters. And if someone listening to this feels as though or knows someone who is struggling, and they need, guidance from a person of color, how I should navigate this system, I definitely genuinely would love to be connected with that person, because I understand what it was like to not have family members who understood what I was going through, because they may or may not have had food allergies and just were not knowledgeable of what was going on in their own body. So that was just a very important thing for me when I created this platform, was to ensure that I was a voice for the voiceless. Another thing that I will say is, if you are a new food allergy parent, or a seasoned food allergy parent, and your child is starting school, it is very important that you, I would suggest you establish a 504 plan, research 504 plan, and get that in place for your student, so that at the start of the fall school year, your child does not have to walk into a new environment alone. And I will just say from experience, it's best to start hosting these conversations with school administrators if you can over the summer, because once August hits and school gets back into gear, things get missed. They fall by the wayside. And a 504 plan is something that you really want to ensure you have all your ducks in a row, so that everyone is aware of what is needed to ensure that your child is safe while in the care of others.
Awesome. Just awesome tips. And I could not agree more with everything you said. And I'm thankful that you started your platform. And thank you so much for what you're doing in this space for everyone. And you are one of the people I do point people to, that if they don't feel comfortable with me, because I obviously am not a person of color, I do have family members that are, but I am not. So I will never understand 100% everything that goes into that. So yeah, definitely point them your direction.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. And like I said, I'm very thankful for you all to be in this space. I could literally talk to you for hours and hours. We don't have that time frame.
Same, Martha. Same.
And I know you're in Texas. I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to make it work. We're going to continue this friendship. I'm going to enjoy watching your children grow. What you share on social media is so very important. What you're doing for the allergy community is so important. And I will have everything linked down below to go check out blackallergymama.com and WebMD and everything that you are doing, which is obviously very much amazing. Like, listen, and share to this podcast. And we will talk to y'all later. Bye.